There's a new AI code editor out there that's getting a ton of attention. People are calling it the future of programming. It's called Cursor, and it claims to do something pretty different from the tools we're all used to. So let's break down what it is, how it actually works, and why so many developers are talking about it.
Just think about this for a second. What if your code editor wasn't just this, passive place where you type things? What if it was an active partner? An assistant that doesn't just guess the next line of code, but actually understands the logic, the structure, the entire goal of your codebase, from file 1 to file 1000. And this analogy really gets to the heart of it. This isn't just about finishing your sentence for you. It's about having a real conversation, getting high-level advice, and working with an AI that can handle complex stuff across your whole project. That's the big promise here.
Okay, so to really get why a tool like Cursor feels so revolutionary, we have to talk about the daily frustrations that developers still face, even with all the AI tools we have now.
If you're a developer, I'm sure this list looks pretty familiar. A huge chunk of the job isn't always that creative, fun problem-solving, it's the grind. It's writing the same boilerplate again and again, it's refactoring, it's hunting down the same bug in like a dozen different files. And yeah, current AI tools help with little bits and pieces, but they almost always lack the one thing you really need, the big picture context of your project.
And this is where Cursor really suggests a new way of thinking. To help it click, let's use a simple three-part analogy for how we should think about our coding tools.
First, just think about your standard code editor on its own, like VS Code. It's kind of like a really advanced typewriter. I mean, it's great for formatting and keeping things organized, lets you type code really efficiently, but at the end of the day, you are doing all the heavy lifting, all the thinking.
Okay, now let's add a tool like GitHub Copilot into the mix. This is like the autocomplete on your phone. It is incredibly smart at guessing the next few words, or in our case, the next line or block of code. It sees what you just typed and makes a really good guess. But its focus is still super local, right? It's just looking at the immediate context.
And this is where we get to Cursor. Cursor wants to be a full-on conversation. You're not just getting suggestions for the next line. You can give it these high-level commands like, hey, add user authentication, and it actually understands the context of your entire app to make that happen. It's a real dialogue.
So the really crucial thing to get is this. Cursor isn't just another plugin or some extension you add on. It's an editor that was built from the ground up with AI at its absolute core. Its main job is to read, understand, and then work on your whole codebase, turning a simple sentence from you into a really complex, multi-file code change.
So how in the world does it actually pull this off? Let's take a peek under the hood at the core mechanics that make this whole senior developer experience possible.
Well, it really boils down to 4 key things working together. First, it reads and indexes your entire project to build up that all-important context. Then, you can use an AI chat panel to ask questions about your own code. The command case shortcut lets you do quick edits right in your file. But the real superpower, the magic trick, is how it combines all of this to make coordinated changes across many different files all at once.
Let's make this super concrete with an example. Imagine a task like adding dark mode to your app. Normally, that could take hours, right? You're digging through dozens of components, theme files, CSS variables. With Cursor, the whole workflow just flips on its head. You give it one high-level command, the AI analyzes the whole project, figures out a plan, modifies every single file that needs to be touched, and then just presents it all to you for a final, yep, looks good. It's a totally different way of working.
Okay, this is the big one. This is the question a lot of you are probably asking. How does this thing actually compare to the tools I'm already using every day, especially something as popular as GitHub Copilot?
Before we dive into a feature-by-feature breakdown, let's just start with the bottom line. The people who are using this, the early adopters, are reporting massive productivity gains. We're talking in the range of 2 to 3 times faster. That's not just a small bump. That's the kind of jump that can completely change how a team builds software.
And this table right here, it really highlights why people are seeing that speed boost. The differences aren't small. While Copilot's understanding of your code is pretty limited to what's right there on the screen, Cursor's is project-wide, and that enables its absolute killer feature, multi-file edits, which is something Copilot just wasn't built to do. It all comes back to that core difference. Copilot is a plugin you add to your editor. Cursor is the editor, built for AI from the start.
All right, so with all that said, let's get practical. How do you actually decide if this is the right tool for you, for your job, and your specific way of working?
The choice really comes down to your workflow and your environment. If you're on a team that moves super fast, or you're constantly jumping into new code bases, or you're a solo dev who could really use that AI partner, Cursor is a really compelling choice. On the other hand, if your company has super strict policies about AI tools, or you're just perfectly happy with a simple autocomplete, then hey, your current setup might be exactly what you need.
And the great news is that getting started is incredibly easy. You just download it, and it imports all your existing VS Code settings with a single click, so there's no painful setup process. There's a pretty generous free version to try it out, and then a pro plan if you end up using it all the time.
So, if you remember nothing else from this, just remember these 3 things. 1. Cursor is an AI-first editor, not just a plugin. 2. Its absolute superpower is understanding your whole project. And 3. That understanding is what lets it automate those complex multi-file tasks that other tools just can't touch.
And all of this leaves us with a pretty fascinating final question. As tools like Cursor get more and more powerful, are we seeing a fundamental shift in what it means to be a developer? A move away from the line-by-line craft of just typing code and more towards the high-level skill of, well, directing an AI to build your vision? It's a pretty wild thought for the future of coding.